Hello once again. Cathar love number 50. Cathars celebrationists. Oh, before I commence, Happy New Year. It's 2014, but also the Chinese New Year, the Year of the Horse. Sinian Kuai Le, Gangi Fa Choi. May it be a wonderful year. Both the Eastern and Western, may they both be maybe delight. We'll have our downs, but let's hope we have some wonderful highs. But the Cathars and celebrationists, what I mean by that is that there's a book called the Medieval Manichae, and by Runciman, and he said that that Catharism was a pessimistic religion, and if we were all Cathars, because Cathars weren't into marriage and children, eventually the human race might disappear. Well, be as that may, but it's be as it may. But yes, they weren't into procreation, but and having children. If you had children, of course, they had children themselves. And you loved your children, of course, but they weren't into populating everywhere, because for many reasons, certainly the world at that time was a pretty miserable place. There was wars and fighting and famine, disease. People didn't have the sanitary situations that we had today, and so disease was far more prevalent. Children died very early in life. So there was pestilence and wars, and it was a pretty horrible time. So why do you want to bring in child after child into a world like that? So, but no one was born a Cathar. Most people at that time in the West were Catholics. Some went into the heretical sect, the Waldensians and other groups, but the largest group was certainly the Cathars. And but they all had their families. They had they before they obviously they were Cathar, they were Catholic, and then they changed and they became a Cathar, and so they were just a follower, a credenti. But those that had raised their families had matured in their 30s, 40s, 50s. Some of them wanted to take their spiritual life, their mystical life, far more seriously, and they went under a period of initiation, usually about a year, and before they were accepted into becoming parfait, perfecto, or bonhomme, bon femme. They called themselves the good people, the good man, good woman. So these people had experienced life. They knew what life was all about. They knew what their families was all about. But the Cathars, the thing that distinguished them very much from the Catholics at the time was that they said the body is innocent. The body is always innocent. As regards sin, I mean, with the church, this was you couldn't do this, and you couldn't do that, and you couldn't do this, and you couldn't do this before marriage, and there's all these rules and regulations and so forth. And the Cathars, no, you want to have sex, you want to have a boyfriend, you want to get married. You don't want to get married, don't get married. The point is, how kind and how loving are you, how gentle are you, how good are you to the people that you're involved with. These are the important things. And so they said, basically, if there was a sin, with the Gnostics, it was a sin of not knowing. It's the sin of ignorance. But they said it is impossible for anyone to sin against the source. Whereas all religions saying, if you do this, you're sinning against God. If you do this, whatever God they happen to have, whatever religion their particular, this is a sin against God. This is a sin. From the Cathar point of view, no matter what you did, you could not in any way affect the source, and there's no way you could sin against the source. In fact, you were just living your life. But we are given the gift of life, and so therefore the Cathars went out to celebrate it, to celebrate your life. We're going to have highs and lows, usually often more lows than highs. So, but we understand that because this is part of life. They understood the process. You know, we're created. With that creation, we have everlasting life. And it's a series of lifetimes, one lifetime after another, as we get our act together, perfect ourselves, become more loving people, more understanding. And once you understand this process, it is a loving process. You can, because within that process, we're going to die young, we're going to die old. Looks like at this point, I'm going to be one of the older ones, the latter. We're going to have sickness, we're going to have health. We'll be black, brown and brindle, we'll be straight, we'll be gay. We're going to go through every aspect at one lifetime or another of living life. Men will be women, women will be men. So this is a process, it's a path, it's a journey, and all the time, hopefully, we're evolving. Some evolve a bit quicker than others, some lifetimes more than other lifetimes, but this is a movement, this is evolving. So within this process, there's a key element with regard to Cathars. They also celebrated death. They celebrated life, but they celebrated death more than life. For the simple reason is that death is a portal to the world beyond, to the world of spirit, paradise, whatever you want to call it. We won't call it heaven because this gets involved with religion. And also, just on the word religion. Religion comes from the Latin rigilare, to bind, to bind together. In other words, bind your followers together. Gnosticism, Catharism is the opposite. If you could say, what does it mean? It means release. Release your mind. The person you follow is yourself. You are your best guide. You know what is best for you. And so, moving back to this celebrating death, and because when you died, everybody is met by their guide. If they're a young soul, there could be also family members, and you're taken to your real family now, which may or may not consist of members of your family here. And this is an experience that delights. It's a delightful experience. We're energy, but the world of colour, the world of everything that we have, our senses here are expanded, and it's a great place to be. So, the Cathars had no problem with going there. I mean, just hey, you're like to go on a ship for a cruise for 3 weeks. It's great. Okay, let's go. So, with them, the world of spirit, when you die, it's a great place. Let's go. So they had no problems with dying. In fact, it was to be celebrated. They celebrated life, but they also celebrated death. I was reading in Time magazine about this person who's on life support machine, and it came up because of Ariel Sharon. He was on life support machine for some 8 years, and but in this particular case, every breath that person took was made by a machine. They switched off the machine, the person stops breathing and dies, and yet the people there would not let that person, even after so many years, wouldn't switch off the machine. They said no. They said because we have a miracle from God, and we get that person can be revived. There's not a great deal of dignity in that. And I'm sure the person involved, well, you're unconscious, you can't talk to them, you're on a machine, but I'm sure they're already in a situation, or maybe their soul has already gone, their divine spark has already departed. There's merely a corpse, a body which happens to be alive, but the brain's not functioning, nothing is functioning. So one of the Cathars' sayings was, may, and when they gave a blessing to somebody else, they said, may you have a good death. May you have a good death. May you have a good day as well, but may you experience a good death. So death to them was a portal to the other world. But they didn't. The Cathars did not deny our humanness. We are alive. They wanted us to be certainly be the best you can. Learn to understand who you are, what you are, and love your humanness. Love the mystical side to your nature. Love the spiritual side to your nature, because it's all part of being ourselves. On the subject of humanness, we beat ourselves around sometimes because we did this and we did that, but we're human. We do make mistakes, and in fact, if we make a mistake, often it means we're learning something new. Because what happens, our brain is like a database. So when we're doing the things we normally do, whatever our job is, we don't make mistakes because we know it. We know it backwards. Our brain, the neurons in our brain, they don't know how to function, they do it. But if you're learning a new language, or you're learning to dance, or you're doing something that you don't normally do, you'll make mistakes. But the very fact that you're making mistakes means that you're in the process of creating new neurons in your brain, and there's something that you didn't have there before, and hence you make the mistake. So by making mistakes often means you're into an area of learning. And so that's to be, when you're making mistakes, means that you're learning. So it's just, we make mistakes, but it's also how you look at your mistakes, and if you can, learn to love your mistakes. All part of being human. And we react in a human way. There was I suppose an Australian icon. He was called Weary Dunlop. He was a doctor, and he was captured by the Japanese, and he was up on the Burma Railway, and they were all given a pretty hard time. And he fought hand and fist to get medical supplies for his men, and he was a legend in his own lifetime. Anyway, he was discharged, and he was called Weary because his eyes used to come down a little bit, and then he had this weary look to him, but he was anything but weary. So anyway, he took up medicine. He still stayed in the medical practice, and obviously was doing quite well for himself. So he was coming home one evening, and he saw his house being robbed. So as he rushed in, the young guy rushed out, the robber, and so Weary Dunlop took after him and did a flying tackle and football tackle and tackled him, and the guy stood up and started fighting him. So Weary, who's probably twice his age, fought back and whack, broke the robber's jaw. Okay, so did he ring 911 or 000, whatever the police was in your particular country? No, he took the young guy, took him to the surgery in the clinic, fixed up his jaw, and made an appointment for him to come back in 2 weeks' time. So what I'm trying to illustrate here is the guy reacted reasonably under the circumstances. Another human. Now some people might run, some people might fight. Who knows what we're going to do in a certain set of circumstances. They fought, but the point was, when he settled down and that was done, the guy didn't say, okay, you're for jail. He gave the guy another chance. In fact, he attended to his wounds, in this case a broken jaw. Not only that, organised for him to come back in a fortnight. Now, one can only imagine the impact that it had on the young robber. I'm sure his treatment would have made him a better person with the kindness and consideration that Ruri Dunlop gave him. I'm sure it wasn't wasted. Anyway, we should celebrate life. We should celebrate our humanness with all our positives and our negatives, and really get to know and understand ourselves. And because if we can make ourselves happy, or with that inner calmness, we're contributing towards other people's happiness. If we're a miserable lot, we're just adding more misery, and there's already enough out there. So it behoves us. It's really, for us, we really need to try and be as calm when we can, enjoy life when we can, and enjoy the fruits of our existence. As long as we're not hurting anybody, which includes ourselves, from a Cathar point of view, there's no harm in it. It's there. It's there to be enjoyed, and you take a fruit from the tree, you enjoy that fruit, but you don't become obsessed with it. So, from the Cathar point of view, it was not just a celebration of life, it was also the fact that they celebrated as much, possibly even more, the act of dying, because dying took us to another world, but it's a better world where we can have some R&R, rest and recuperation, organise ourselves, check our previous life, see where we're at, make any adjustments, and ready ourselves for another one. So once again, Happy New Year, Sinniam Kuala, Tangi Fa Choi, Happy Chinese New Year, and hope to see you, talk to you soon. Bye.